and welcome to episode 80 of the Highly Relevant Podcast. I am your host, Jack Rico, and today we're going to be talking about blockchain. For those of you who might have heard of it, but maybe haven't necessarily done enough research on it, I have Oscar Garcia on the show today. He is the CEO of Uulala, a technology platform company that uses blockchain technology. Him and I will discuss who should use blockchain, why they should use it, and how he believes his blockchain company, Uulala, can elevate Latinos in this country to a middle-class economy. Father's Day is coming up, so skip the shirts or those new socks you were thinking of buying and buy your dad Saks underwear. Saks is underwear reinvented. It's so comfortable, so supportive. There's really nothing else like it. Saks underwear took something we all need and made it better. I mean, seriously, these are the best underwear I've ever tried. Their ballpark pouch is a game changer. It's designed with our anatomy in mind. It lets you move around comfortably no matter what you're doing. There is no friction and no chafing. Saks has a large selection of styles, including training shorts. You can find the perfect pair for everyday wear, working out, traveling, and it's all backed up by their 100% comfort guarantee. There's still time to get Saks underwear for Father's Day, so order a few pairs now and take advantage of this great limited time deal I've worked out. Shop from anywhere on their site and get $5 off plus free shipping on your first purchase. But to get this great offer, you need to use my promo code HIGHLYRELEVANT at checkout. Go now to SaksUnderwear.com, that's Saks with 2 X's, and use the promo code HIGHLYRELEVANT at checkout. Remember, SaksUnderwear.com, promo code HIGHLYRELEVANT. Okay, imagine making a financial transaction with another person, but without needing a bank to do it for you. Imagine doing it directly with whomever you want, whenever you want. That is what blockchain is. It's a new way of doing transactions, but cutting out the companies who profit from being the middlemen between your transactions. This is a new option for people who don't have the proper credit or documentation to pass money or assets from one place to another. Oscar Garcia, CEO of Uulala, believes that the United States can see an extra $6 trillion if Latinos sign up for it. We pick up the conversation on why Latinos should be on blockchain. So, Oscar, why do we have to do this? I mean, you know, the problem with Latinos, and I'm sure you more than anybody knows this, is that we're very comfortable in what we first learned. We don't like to change things, especially when it's electronic. I remember my mom being very careful. It's like, oh, don't do all that technology stuff. You know, they're scamming you. Somehow they're going to take your money. There's this paranoia that kicks in. So how have you tried to make this comfortable for the Hispanic community to embrace it and not feel like they're scared, like their money might somehow be stolen from them? How do you educate them that this is fine?
Well, I think the first and foremost thing that we address is that their money is already being stolen from them. Wells Fargo overdrafts them $35 every time they have an overdraft fee, not just once, but twice. And they make over $7 billion was the number I read. Just on overdraft fees. Second, they can't trust banks right now, and this is where Latinos, actually have this stigma as well. You can't trust the big guys because they're out there to I don't want to say the word that my mom usually uses, but not to do good to you, right? So you have the stigma of big banks are there to rip you off and disrespect you. You have I'd rather go into, and think about this, Latinos would rather stand in line in a check cashing place and get their checks cashed in a small building that looks very
suspicious,
not safe, right? Suspicious, for lack of a better word, compared to a huge bank that looks safe. And why do they do that? Because they want transparency, they want anonymity, right? They don't want to be logged of what they're doing. They believe that Big Brother is always watching them if they're going into a big bank. Mm-hmm. So what we're saying is this: Latinos completely bypassed the laptop and went straight into a digital platform called mobile.
Right.
So maybe that was true on the laptop where they didn't trust the laptop, but at a 70% penetration on mobile, they're now one of the biggest demographics, if not the biggest demographic that embraces social media apps, that embraces mobile apps. So we are looking at penetration there. Now, all we're doing is this. Latinos in general love going into places that get to build them credit scores. And in this case over here in Los Angeles, we have a store called Curacao. These are in-store credit facilities, right? So the problem with those in-store credit facilities, the Latinos go there and they know they're going to pay 10 times more for the same item. But why do we do it?
Because of the anonymity.
Get a credit line. Well, not only anonymity, but they actually can get a credit line.
Well, it's just like buying a car, right? There's some car dealerships that tell you, hey, you don't need a credit line. You know, we'll give you the car anyway, but the interest rates are going to be so sky high. But at the end of the day, you just care about the car. You'll take care of the expenses later.
Correct. But they're also building that credit. Someone's trusting them to finance them so they can go out there and get other items that they want financed in the future, right?
Right.
So when you really look at that, all we're doing is taking that in-store credit mentality and saying, hey, do what you're doing anyway. Just do it on this app. And by the way we're growth hacking this is we're going to insurance houses, tax preparers, right? Immigration facilities, where for instance, on just the insurance house alone, Latinos are getting insurance. There's no doubt about it. Over here in Los Angeles, we have a place called Veronica's Insurance. It's one of the largest. We have Freeway Insurance, Adriana's Insurance, a lot of different ones. But Veronica's Insurance, for instance, they let us see their onboarding process. They said if someone pays cash, they pay $20 more than someone that paid with a debit card. So what we're doing there is that Veronica's Insurance can help us load a customer into our app in under 2 minutes, take their money, load it into the app, and actually pay the insurance through a virtual Visa card and save that customer $20. That's phenomenal because now we can save them upwards of $240 a year just on their insurance. Now, when they're shown that insurance payment got them a credit line, that actually helped them establish a microcredit line, that's where things get interesting because that's where they can get the idea. If I pay my bills, I don't get charged, I get paid, and I get a credit line. So you tell me, right? The technology is always made to improve people's lives. If it doesn't shrink the amount of time it takes you to do something or gives you more benefit for you doing that same exact thing, physically, then technology shouldn't be used. In this case, technology with the blockchain can be used to do these things.
So how mainstream is blockchain at the moment?
Well, it's not. I look at it like 2000 of the internet, right?
Okay.
If you look at the internet history, how mainstream was the internet in 1996 when I got started in it? I was watching my brother and his geeky friends chat on a text-based chat online, and they were excited about it. It wasn't until the browser actually had a JPEG on it back in 1996, I believe, was when I seen the first JPEG on a browser that I got excited because it became visual, right? It wasn't just for coders and whatnot. So if you look at the progression, by 2000, there was all these companies coming out of the woodwork to address the internet. And there was two sides of the internet. There was the side that said, this is phenomenal, this is going to change everything. And there was the side that said, this is a fad, it's going to go away, it's not going to be here forever.
And what do you think?
Toy.
What do you think blockchain is going to be? Is it a fad or is it here to stay?
It's Pandora's box. It's here to stay. You opened it up.
Enigmatic.
Right, it is, because look at it. Why would you ever trust a TransUnion or Wells Fargo? Why? What is their transparency procedures that says we will not screw you over, consumer? We've tried that, and they've always done it, right?
Right.
Experience just went through the biggest hack in the world, so that means a centralized database is not secure because you got human beings that obviously are constantly touching it. Now, in the blockchain environment, you have multiple computers that are saying this transaction happened and it's secured. So you have transparency where people can now say, I don't need Big Brother to tell me this was real. I have a network of computers that validated it when the transaction happened. And if that chain is broken, if that link in the chain is broken, it completely kills the entire block.
So
that is more powerful.
So let's say there's a Latino that's listening to the podcast right now, and he's saying to himself, you know what, that sounds interesting, but I still have a lot of questions. Let me try it out. Something goes wrong. Their money is not necessarily what they thought was going to be there. Is there a customer service? Who do they call to try and solve the issue?
So first and foremost, we have to partner up with banks and financial institutions to make this application work. And unlike banks, we don't have a banking charter where we can use people's money for anything but what they loaded it for. So in the case with banks, they can go out there and they can loan your money out and do whatever they need to do. For us, we can't. We have an agreement with banks where the money, if you put in a certain amount of dollars, the dollars are there to do what we're saying that they're going to be there to do, which in your case or in consumers' cases is be accessible through a debit card so you can use it. Mm-hmm. So consumers should feel a little bit safer on that. We're not like that. But second, we have the same protections that the banks do with your accounts. They're FDIC insured, they're SWIFT accounts. The money sits in a banking institution that is well known here in the United States. Right? It's not like it sits in my closet just because I created an app. There's no way that would happen, right?
Right.
So there's always a catch-22 with fintech companies and banks. We need each other. It's a symbiotic relationship. We just don't like the way the big banks are doing their marketing and their contracts.
You don't like the business model that some of these banks have adopted, and it's so hard to change them that this is kind of starting from scratch. It's almost like you're recreating the bank business model, but your way, the way you think it works properly.
Correct. Because, think about it. Why would you close at 5 p.m. when everybody's just getting out of work? It's insane. That's the traditional banking model.
So, so this is a 24/7 open, quote unquote, bank.
And this is technology allowing this, because you can get an Uber at 1 a.m. You can get an Uber at 3 p.m. Bottom line, technology has opened up the doors to a lot of conveniences that brick and mortars cannot do because it costs too much money to keep a brick and mortar open 24/7. It's the same amount of, dime, penny, whatever you want to call it, to keep an app open. An app does not incur those costs.
I'm interested. Like, you totally have sold me on it. I want to test it out. But here's the key thing, right? And I think I speak for many people. Do I need it? Is it a must-have or is it a nice-to-have?
Yeah, that's a good one. You're not our customer, so for you would ask that question.
Okay.
For the 55% of Latinos who are cash-based consumer, it's a need to have, it's a must-have, it's a want-to-have. Let me explain. Mm-hmm. The need to have is I need to start lowering my cost of living. A bank account costs me $29 a month. Insurance costs me more money by paying cash. Bills cost me more money for paying them when I'm paying cash, on and on and on. We can actually show that over $2,000 a year is being flushed down the toilet from the average consumer,
just on fees,
cash-based consumer, just on fees. So if we can give them back their $2,000 where they can pay back a micro loan.
Wow. Okay. See, now you're talking.
That means they can have access to $10,000, right? We can turn $2,000 savings into a $10,000 credit line. We can. So when we say this is a need to have, it's I need to save money. I need a mechanism that will do it. That's easy. That's made for me. That I can trust, right? So that's a need to have. A want to have is I want to check into hotels. I want to buy things on Amazon. I want to buy things at Hulu. I want to buy things on Spotify, but I cannot because I do not have a debit Visa card or MasterCard.
Right.
So now
this is the replacement.
I want to have, exactly, because it's a physical card along with the digital card. You can order a physical card with us, with your name on it. So now you can actually be part of the formal economy, right? So that's I need to have, I want to have.
Listen, that's a game changer. This is a game changer, because these invisible people that have had the cash but don't want to necessarily put it in a bank because they're asking them for documents that they don't have, they can now become visible economically within the country.
Yes.
And then interact with society with the money that they've honestly earned through the wages of tips and jobs and whatever it may be. And now they can feel like they're a part of society.
Correct. Now let's talk about the must have. Now that database can be used to actually move financial tools to them, the credit lines. Every time we can show beyond a shadow of a doubt that they are good consumers, that they have X amount of cash in hand above and beyond their regular bills, right? So if you're making $2,000 and you have $500 extra, then that could be a micro loan amount. So we believe our algorithm actually tracks the intentionality of the individual. That individual can now bring in, we believe we can bring in $6 trillion of new financial dollars to the world by simply just targeting the Latinos. This must have is to elevate the entire culture. If we can rise lowest people in our culture to a upper, lower class, lower middle class levels of financial, capabilities, we can rise the entire culture.
Is this, that's ambitious, but do you think that Uulala's mission statement can achieve that?
Well, we believe in empowering people, right? To empower them to become their own heroes. I believe that the mission statements are going to be a part of it, but it's really when people catch on to their neighbor now getting access to credit lines immediately, right? $50, $20. Because one thing we want to do here, this is a phase 4 of the company, is to give every business the ability to give microcredit offers to our customers. So that way it can kickstart their microcredit lines. So imagine the local liquor store, the local electronics store becomes a curacao, for lack of a better word, right? Where now they have a mechanism, a tool where they can say, I'll loan people $20 if they qualify, and I want the app to help me collect my money. Now their marketing dollars go from a debt, to an actual part of the balance sheet that you can write off if someone doesn't pay you, doesn't pay you back, right? So marketing dollars, you can't write off all of them. So here you could write off an actual credit line.
Right.
And the application will actually collect for you in whatever terms you want. You might want your money back in 1 month and 2 payments, or 2 months and 1 payment. The app, because of the smart contract and blockchain technology, will actually execute exactly what you want. And that will help us kickstart people's microcredit loans, where we can give them $20 of cash money where they can use anywhere.
Right. It's the building blocks towards creating a credit line for people that don't have it. How are you making money, Oscar, for your business? Because at the end of the day, this is a business. You got to be making money somehow.
We do, but we don't make money from the customer side as much as many other apps. So let me give you an idea.
So you're not charging fees, right?
Well, we are, but not to the customer. So for instance, I'm paying bills. Usually people charge $1.50, $2 to pay one bill. We get paid by the utility companies to collect their money. So why charge the customer more money above the fees that are being collected by the utility company? So what we do is we revenue split with the customer. So if
so you cut the middleman?
We cut the middleman completely out and actually turn our customer into the middleman. He's his own middleman.
That's crazy. And so what's the biggest threat for the blockchain technology?
Well, I don't think it's a biggest threat for the blockchain technology. I think what happens is...
Can it be hacked, I think is what I'm trying to say. Can it be hacked?
Oh, well, anything is possible, but let's talk about the capabilities of hacking a blockchain compared to the capabilities of hacking a bank, right? blockchain is the extension of our technology. We're still behind PCI regulations. We're still behind huge firewalls and databases. So everything the banks have, we have. You just add another layer called blockchain that what we do, and this is the power of blockchain. Imagine a piece of paper, cut it up in little packets, little bits and pieces, and send a third of the packets to this block, a third of the packets to this block, and a third of the packets to this block, and then encrypt each one of those blocks and encrypt each one of those packets.
Yeah, that's hard to hack.
Blockchain, right. So usually what happens is that a hacker will say, hey, low-hanging fruit, one database, one packet, one security code, let me go after that guy.
Yeah, so you're saying these hackers are like, I don't want to get in the ring with this. I want none of this.
They're going to go after your experience. They're going to go after your targets. They're going to go after a single node of a database because they know what to attack and that it's open 24/7. When the blockchain splits up the data and encrypts the data, it just makes it more difficult. So you'll need 1,000 times more effort to actually hack the blockchain compared to just hacking a regular database. That's what we're saying.
Is there a place to find out more information in a detailed way where they can take their time, ask questions about Uulala and what it offers for them?
Yes, actually. They can go to tokensale.uulala.io and actually get more information. We're actually going to be updating the uulala.io website as well, uulala.io, both in English, Spanish. Actually, we have like 15 different languages that we're updating it to. The goal will be that these next week or two, we're actually releasing videos that will explain this so much more effectively, right? We have a 60-second video and a 5-minute video that really goes through the details. Yeah, and we're translating all the videos right now. So that will really help the Latino culture and anyone actually learn about this, because we believe that we have a better mousetrap. It's not going to be just for the cash consumer. Eventually, there's going to be a lot of underbanked individuals that have a bank account, but they still, are looking at all these fees and they're saying, why am I dealing with this? Let me just go to Uulala and get rewarded instead of get disrespected.
The thing that I like the most out of everything you said is that what you're trying to do with Uulala is elevating the Hispanic culture to a place where they can buy their home, fulfill that American dream, be like everyone else. Because unfortunately, that's not the case with our community. And there's very few that rise to the top. This allows them for all to rise to the top, to kind of create a middle-class Hispanic community in America.
And that's what we need, right? I think too many times Latinos in general don't understand their true power. And their true power is that, right, is their dollar. It's their vote. You're voting with your dollars. And if you can quantify that you're a good person, which the majority of Latino people are, right? They just want to work. They just want to pay their bills. They just want to be left alone, but they don't want to be the people paying all these fees compared to everyone else, right? We don't want to hand out. We want to hand up. That's it. We don't want to hand out. We want to hand up.
Oscar Garcia, CEO of Uulala, muchísimas gracias for being on the show and explaining, what some people thought were, I don't know about that. I'm very suspicious about that. Thanks for clarifying a lot of it. And if you want more information on Uulala, we're going to have a lot of details in the show notes. And as you said, Oscar, they can go reach you at, what was it again?
Tokensale.uulala.io. And that's UULALA.io.
Thank you, Oscar, for being on the Highly Relevant Podcast.
Thank you.
That's it for episode 80 of the Highly Relevant Podcast. I'd like to thank Oscar Garcia for his insight on blockchain and hope you guys enjoyed the conversation as well. If you like what you heard, you can support the show by sharing us on social media and telling all your friends about it. Remember, it's through your word of mouth that our show can grow. I'm Jack Rico. See you next week on another episode of Highly Relevant.